Hi everyone, today we will clarify one of the objections among the Seventh Adventist brethren. They said that the Reform movement teaches that the remnant church is Babylon. Sister White says that we must not associate with those who teach that kind of doctrine. In 1893, a Seventh Adventist lay member by the name of Brother Stanton published together with his associates a pamphlet entitled The Loud Cry. The pamphlet was circulated widely among the Seventh Adventist churches. He was advocating strange and false theories and doctrines on many points. One of those points was his declaration that the church had become Babylon because she was organized like other churches were. Ellen G. White warned against such a charge, and that warning was written in the book Testimonies to Ministers 51. Those who start up to proclaim a message on their own individual responsibility, who while claiming to be taught and led of God, be it known that these men are on the side of the great deceiver, believe them not. They are allying themselves with the enemies of God and the truth. They will deride the order of the ministry as a system of priestcraft. Another point in Stanton's teaching was the theory of non-paying tithes to the church. And Sister White declared that idea to be very wrong. In Testimonies to Ministers 60, I understand, says Ellen G. White, that you also are proclaiming that we should not pay tithe. That was another sacred doctrine against which Stanton and his associates lifted up their voice and pen. Thirdly, they also set the date of Jesus' coming, and Ellen G. White warned him with these following words. Testimonies to Ministers, page 60. If you are wearing the yoke of Christ, if you are lifting His burden, you will see that there is plenty to do in the same lines wherein the servants of God are laboring in preaching Christ and Him crucified. But anyone who will start up of proclaiming a message to announce the hour, day, or year of Christ's appearing has taken up a yoke and is proclaiming a message that the Lord had never given him. Ellen G. White wrote a long letter to him which appeared in Review and Herald September 12, 1893. She also published a long article under the title Remnant Church, Not Babylon, in Review and Herald, August 22 to September 12, 1893. Dito makikita natin na may tatlong problema po si Brother Stanton. Unang-una, he declared that the Seventh Adventist Church was Babylon. Bakit po? Dahil ito po na-organized like other churches. Pangalawa po, na bawal daw ang pag-return ng tithes to the church, or it is wrong to pay tithes. At ang pangatlo, he was setting the time of the coming of Jesus Christ. And we thank the Lord that in those early years, the message was given at that time that the remnant church is not Babylon. And if we upheld and teach the same declaration of Brother Stanton that the church is Babylon, then we are condemning ourselves also. Why? Because we are Seventh Adventists. And Reform movement are also Seventh Adventists. That's why we should not declare the same idea with Brother Stanton. However, in the long article published by Ellen G. White, we quote some few paragraphs that was explaining about the wrong idea of declaring the church to be Babylon. Testimonies to Ministers, page 44 and 45. The message that has been borne by those who have proclaimed the church to be Babylon has made the impression that God has no church. Ibig sabihin, if you preach that the Seventh-day Adventist Church is Babylon, nangangahulugan na ang Panginoon ay walang iglesia dito po sa lupa. Pangalawa, Testimonies to Ministers, page 50. There is but one church in the world who are at the present time standing in the breach and making up the heads, building up the old waste places, and for any man to call the attention of the world and other churches to this church, denouncing her as Babylon, is to do a work in harmony with him who is the accuser of the brethren. Tayo po'y kasama ng Diablo ni Satanas if we preach and denounce that the Seventh-day Adventist Church ay Babylon. Pangatlo, Testimonies to Ministers, 54. God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. From the beginning of our work, men have arisen from time advocating theories that were new and startling. Ibig sabihin mga kapatid, na kapag tayo po magdeklarar na ang Seventh-day Adventist ay Babylon, we are advocating new theories, new ideas, and it is very startling. Ang mga salita na ito na naitala sa pamamagitan ng mga sulat ni Sister Ellen G. White in the year 1893 is worthwhile to note. And that the condition of the Seventh Adventist Church then in that time was such that the whole heaven was interested in her. In other words, the Seventh Adventist Church in that time was still faithful and has pure doctrine in its organization. However, it is not right to measure the experience of the past that we have once before, as seen by the following testimony, as it is written in Testimonies for the Church, 83. We read, "The church cannot measure herself by the world, nor by the opinion of men, nor by what she once was." The question to be answered is this: what made Seventh-day Adventists a special people, the chosen people of God? The answer is given by the Spirit of Prophecy, Volume 6, Testimonies for the Church, 95. It should be understood whether they are simply taking the name of Seventh-day Adventists or whether they are taking their stand on the Lord's side, to come out from the world and be separate and touch not the unclean thing. Ang rason po na tayo po ay isang tunay na iglesia, tunay na Seventh-day Adventist Church, hindi dahil po sa pangalan, kundi dahil po na tayo po ay tumayo sa tagiliran ng Panginoon and to come out from the world and to be separate and not to touch the unclean thing. It is not enough to boast of having the beautiful name, Seventh-day Adventist Church. The name does not save anyone. To be a true Seventh-day Adventist means to teach, keep, and obey the principles of truth which were established in the beginning of the Advent movement after 1844. And this church cannot be Babylon. Great Controversy, page 65, will tell us who is really Babylon. Let us read. "The Waldensians declared the Church of Rome to be the apostate Babylon of the Apocalypse. And at the period of their lives, they stood up to resist her corruption. Sino po ang original na Babylon? Siya po ang Iglesia ng Roma, sabi po ng Apokalipsis or the Book of Revelation. Sino po ba ang mga anak ng Babylonia? Let us read. Great Controversy 382 and 383. Babylon is said to be the mother of harlots. Siya po ang ina ng mga prostitutes. By her daughters must be symbolized the churches that cling to her doctrines and traditions and follow her example of sacrificing the truth and the approval of God in order to form an unlawful alliance with the world. The message of Revelation 14 announcing the fall of Babylon must apply to religious bodies that were once pure and have become corrupt. Tayo po'y nakaalam na mga kapatid na ang daughters of Babylon are the apostate Protestant churches. This is very clear, and we cannot believe differently because the testimonies say this and we believe in them. The remnant church, God's church, the true Seventh-day Adventists must keep themselves away from the world and its influence, and we must be separate from the fallen churches and have nothing to do with Babylon. The question arises, is the large class, the mainstream Seventh-day Adventists now, right now, uniting with Protestants and Catholics with the world and taking part in ecumenism? If she is not, she can use the message of 1893 in her defense. But if she is uniting with the world and other fallen churches, she cannot use that statement to cover her corruptions. Ano pong sinasabi ng Spirit of Prophecy about the condition of the Seventh-day Adventist Church right now? Let us read. Volume 5, Testimonies for the Church, 75. I have been shown that the spirit of the world is fast leavening the church. Pangalawa po, Volume 5, Testimonies for the Church, 217. The church has turned back from following Christ, her leader, and is steadily retreating towards Egypt. Pangatlo po, Volume 8, Testimonies for the Church, 118 and 119. The line of demarcation between worldlings and many professed Christians is almost indistinguishable. Daily, the church is becoming converted to the world. Let us review, mga kapatid. Ang tunay na sitwasyon ng simbahang Adventista ngayon is that it is fast leavening in the church the spirit of the world. Number 1. Number 2, the church is steadily retreating towards Egypt. Number 3, the mark of, or shall we say, the line of differences or demarcation between the world and the professed Christians is almost indistinguishable. Halos hindi na natin makita ang diferensya between worldlings and Seventh-day Adventists. At karugtong pa nito, araw-araw ang simbahang Adventista po ay becoming converted to the world. Mga kapatid, nung sinulat yan ni Sister White, we believe that today the condition of the church is worse than when the above testimonies were written. If she is never to be identified with a Babylon or become part of it or be a partaker of the sins of Babylon or be denounced or called daughters of Babylon. She must keep herself away from Babylon. The servant of God, Ellen G. White, made this point very clear. Testimonies for the Church, Volume 4, 513. If most earnest vigilance is not manifested at the great heart of the work to protect the interests of the cause, the church will become as corrupt as the churches of other denomination. So, ang vigilance po, dapat nandoon po sa heart of the work. Saan ba yung heart of the work? It is the General Conference. Ano pong gawin ng General Conference? They should protect the interests of the cause of God. Pag hindi sila gumagawa ng ganyan, malaking protection sa katotohanan na it will not go down, then the church, whose church is this? Seventh Adventist Church, will become as corrupt as other churches. Testimonies for the Church, 513. The barriers which God's Word places about His people are being broken down. Ano na pong nangyari sa barriers? It was broken down. Men who are acquainted with the way in which God has led His people in the past, instead of inquiring for the old paths and defending our position as a peculiar people, have linked hands with the world. Ano na po nangyari ngayon sa mga leaders ng Seventh Adventist Church? They link their hands with the world. The most alarming features in the case is that warning voices have not been heard in remonstrance, entreaties, and warnings. The eyes of God's people seem to be blinded while the church is fast drifting into the channel of worldliness. Ito po ang masakit na reality, mga kapatid, na ang mga membro na po na ng iglesia become blinded as the church is drifted into the channel of worldliness. Ngayon po, ano ang sinasabi ng Testimonies to Ministers 265? The world must not be introduced into the church and married to the church, forming a bond of unity. Through this means, the church will become indeed corrupt, and as stated in Revelation, a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. If the Seventh Adventist organization does not wish to become indeed corrupt and be a cage of every unclean and hateful bird, she must reform herself and keep away from these following activities. A. Being a member, voting, or associate in any units of the Council of Churches in the United States of America or any country in the world, and do not serve as a counselor in the World Council of Churches. Ibig sabihin na walang any connection to that ecumenical movement. Mingling herself with the world in fashion, pleasures, sports, and politics. Letter C, tolerating homosexuals and members of the church. C, the ministry, September 1981. Permitting Catholics, Protestants, Pentecostals, Babylonians to preach in the Seventh Adventist Church pulpits. Having communion with Babylonians, that is, giving the Lord's Supper to non-members of the church, such as members of the Catholic and Protestant churches. Ito po ay masakit isipin, mga kapatid, na nowadays, ang Seventh Adventist Church is member of the Christian World Communion. Ano pong ibig sabihin ng Christian World Communion? Ano po ang mga ginagawa nila? What is the vision of the Christian World Communion? Varied as they are in their structure and purpose, the Christian World Communions are very much alive and must be seen in their relationship with the ecumenical movement. Many of their leaders participated in the formation of the World Council of Churches, and from 1948 until today have held position of leadership in it. Mga kapatid, ay ito po'y masakit na ang Seventh-day Adventist po, pag i-click ninyo, ito pong isang website ng Google, makita ninyo ng Seventh-day Adventist Church. Pag i-click mo yan, Christian World Communions, makita mo doon, number 7 member is the General Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. At isa pang hindi magandang notisya, mga kapatid. Merong isang ministry under the banner of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and this ministry is called the Kinship, Seventh-day Adventist Kinship. At ano po itong Seventh-day Adventist Kinship? Seventh-day Adventist Kinship International provides a safe spiritual and social community to lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and intersex, current and former members of the Seventh-day Adventist around the world. Kaya po, mga kapatid, ay masakit man dinggin ang mga salitang ito, pero ito po ay totoo. Kaya po ang salitang Babylon means confusion is not as an offensive word as defiled, corrupt, harlot. And yet, Sister White apply these terms to the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And this is found in the book of Testimonies for the Church, 250. Then he said to me, "Can you not see how they have pretentiously covered up their defilement and rottenness of character? How is the faithful city become an harlot? My Father's house is made a house of merchandise, a place whence the divine presence and glory have departed. For this cause there is weakness and strength is lacking." Ito po'y masakit, mga kapatid, ng Iglesia Adventista ay tinawag na harlot. At ito po'y hindi magandang pakinggan. However, if these words of Ellen G. White offended someone, let him contend with her. We only quote what she had said under inspiration. Kaya, mga kapatid, the statement of 1893 is a strong defense for the Seventh-day Adventist Reform movement. And we are glad and thank God when we read that the remnant church is not Babylon. Ibig sabihin, mga kapatid, na ang tunay na Seventh-day Adventist Church, the remnant church, who keep the commandments of God, is not Babylon. Pero po ang Seventh-day Adventist, the large class, na nagpabaya po sa doktrina, if they will not reform, if they will not repent from this situation, then, and only then, they cannot claim that they are the people of God. Thank you so much, and may God bless you. Amen.